I know all the attention has rightly been, by the way, on COVID. We got a lot of other big problems that have been here before and will continue to be here afterwards. One of them is called RSV. What is it, and what kind of a market for vaccines do you think there might be?
Good morning, Brian. So look, RSV is something that we've been chasing in the vaccine world for many decades. It's been a well-known respiratory virus since the 1960s. And it's tricky because, like, for example, COVID or influenza, it's something that we get reinfected with fairly regularly, and it causes about 150,000 hospitalizations and tragically some deaths in premature infants as well. But it also sneaks up on you again later in life. People in their 60s, 70s, and 80s are vulnerable to RSV, and RSV can then precipitate hospitalization, serious complicated pneumonias, and other respiratory infections. So it's one of those diseases that affect you at both extremes of life, like influenza, not quite as severe as influenza, but probably more common, and therefore it's really worth preventing. But it's a tricky virus to prevent, a little bit like influenza as well. It can shift. We've had some fits and starts with development programs for vaccines in the past. We got some very good news this year that suggests we're actually going to be successful this time. And of course, all the big vaccine companies are completely involved in this category.
Yeah, and who are the potential winners here? I mean, aside from obviously the families of the kids, because this is unlike COVID, something that really goes after the very young. Who are the potential winners here, Jeff?
Yeah, so far this category looks like it's going to be dominated initially by what we call the big three or four: GSK, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Sanofi are just behind them. The only of the large vaccine company that's not involved right now is Merck. So they'll be in the lead, and they have programs, all of them now, in phase 3 or approaching phase 3. As I said, Sanofi's already read out the first data for their pediatric or infant program called nirsevimab. It's actually an antibody to prevent the virus. That's already read out, and they've told us that it's positive. We haven't seen the full data. But just behind them, all these new upstarts, the Modernas, the BioNTechs, the CureVacs of the world, these companies developing mRNA for RSV prevention. And that looks like it's going to be a pretty promising technology in this category as well. So there's the first wave, which are the big guys, and then the innovators are going to come along and try and deploy some of this novel technology against this pathogen. It's going to be competitive, but it's going to be an exciting space over the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it truly is. I mean, and that's kind of the thing, Jeff, and why we appreciate you coming on. I've been reading your notes, and I mean, the biotech world has been so singularly focused on COVID, rightly so, for the past 15 or 16 months. But we got to remember, I mean, there's a lot of other bad stuff out there, a lot of weight gain. There's a huge diabetes is going to only grow. We've got all these other things that we didn't think about before. Cancer deaths probably up as well. In fact, affecting somebody very close to me right now, as a matter of fact. What other opportunities do you think there will be, unfortunately, out there as we come out of this COVID haze?
Yeah, well, look, the interesting thing about the biopharma industry is they haven't been sort of sitting idly by while they've been addressing COVID. Remarkable progress on COVID, and I think we're all deeply appreciative of what's come out of all of the companies developing both antibodies and vaccines. But behind the scenes, there's been tremendous progress in cancer. We saw a lot of breakthroughs announced at the recent virtual ASCO conference, which is the big meeting for the year. Seeing breakthroughs in still more breakthroughs in lung cancer, maybe progress in pancreatic cancer, real breakthroughs in esophageal cancer, which is something that people have been very afraid of as a terrible diagnosis. So a lot of progress in cancer. And then now, of course, we have aducanumab approved for Alzheimer's in the last week. There's controversial views there, but it's great that there's a treatment for that disease. And then we still have progress in gene therapies and in other diseases as well. So there's been a lot of progress behind the scenes that we're going to hear about now.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.